Hey everybody, Mark Herman, aka LA Bengals fan on most of the major platforms, and we are joined here with Sam Schneider from Primetime Sports Talk for another episode of Jungle Talk.
Who knows? Let's do it.
Go. And before I start, please subscribe if you don't subscribe. That's all we ask. And Sam, tell them where they can find all your stuff.
Absolutely. And don't just subscribe. Hit that bell down there, baby.
Hit the notification.
That bell down there. Get them notifications. And please drop a comment. We always respond to our comments.
Yeah, we try to go through them.
We'd love to hear from you guys. But thanks, Mark. Yeah. I write for primetimesportstalk.com. Like Mark said, you can find me on Twitter at Buy and Sell You or Primetime Sports Talk at Talk Primetime or primetimesportstalk.com.
There we go. All right. So Sam didn't have a chance to take part in the recap video for the Pittsburgh game. And I didn't get a chance. I talked about having the halftime stats, but I didn't really get to them. So I just thought we'd do a quick recap and then we can get Sam's input from what was just an amazing game. I mean, hands down, we just outplayed them in every aspect of the game.
We sure did.
At one point, we were, when Burrow gets intercepted, that would have been the 10th consecutive scoring drive going back to the Vegas game. So we were on this amazing run, but that Mike Hilton pick just sealed it. And so we just, like I said, it was just a beautiful thing to watch. We finally weren't sitting there biting our nails or any of that, watching the game. And what was your take? What did you want to say about the game?
I want to lead off. Actually, I didn't even have this written down, but I wanted to lead off by saying anybody that hasn't seen the Von Bell mic'd up video from that game, it's excellent. Okay. And it just gives you that feeling of what Von Bell has brought to this team. He's fired up. He's a leader still. Mm-hmm. And he's yelling, move the chains every time the offense got a first down.
Right.
That's great. I didn't even have that written down. I do want to say for the second week in a row, I was really impressed by Eli Apple.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was one good apple again. That pick was great.
And he got burnt. He got burnt twice.
Right.
But cornerbacks get burnt. It happens. Yeah. That's a thing. As long as you're not getting burnt constantly, it's okay.
Right.
The second interception for the second week in a row is just enormous. So if he can continue that kind of play going forward, I mean, I will take back all the bad things I said about him.
As will I. So, just to run through some of the stats real quickly, obviously we were 2-1 on time of possession, and I only printed out the first half because the second half stats, the game stats, are skewed because there was a lot of junk, first downs and things. But if you look at the first half, where we got 31 of our 41 points, we were 4 for 5 on third down conversions. We were 20 minutes to 10 minutes on time of possession. I mean, it was just utter domination. I mean, what else can you say?
I think as many fans as we have that will kind of dig their heels on this, it's Zach Taylor gets to be a better play caller every single week. Right. And he's finally figuring out that in the AFC North, you got to run the ball and you've got a great running back. I mean, Mixon had an enormous game. He had an enormous game.
Back-to-back games. He had a big game in Vegas too.
That's right. And I'll even say this week. I know we're going to jump to this week shortly.
Yeah.
But I'll even say this week, like I think Joe's got to get the ball 30 times.
100%. And if you get a chance, go to my Twitter feed. Dan Orlovsky did a breakdown of the Bengals running game. And I tweeted that out, and it was actually really, really good. Typically, I'm a big, I'm not a huge fan of his, but he's gotten on board. He's been touting us for a while, but this was a really good breakdown. He shows the linemen, he shows them all synced. It's on my Twitter feed. It's got a lot of likes. Go look at it.
I honestly can't believe you just said that, because for anybody that's watching, Mark and I don't usually talk about what we're going to talk about on the show.
Right.
beforehand. I also watched Orlovsky was all over ESPN for like 3 days in a row. I mean, literally, he was walking from one studio to the next.
Right.
And I agree. I've never been a huge fan of his, but his breakdowns of Mixon were outstanding.
They were.
And completely on point.
Yeah,
just completely on point.
And it really sounds the bell about how great Frank Pollock is, because this is stuff we weren't doing last year, and he's just got these guys. And he even draws a connection. He says, well, who's the greatest offensive line coach of all time? And they answer the question. I can't remember the person's name. And then he says, well, his pupil was Frank Pollock, and he starts running through, but it's just, it's good stuff. So check my Twitter feed for that. That's my segue into the running game coming into this week. So we'll jump into this week. Just some bits of news. Thaddeus Moss, who finally made our active roster, is now going to miss time with an injury that occurred during warmups.
He pulled a hammy in warmups.
Well, but we'll have him later on, like I said. But I was just happy he had finally gotten.
Really? I don't know if we will, Mark.
No, he will. He will, because he's in that inner circle. Burrow loved him at LSU. Burrow has said, whenever I need him, I know where he's going to be. It's that kind of dependability like he feels with Chase. Thaddeus Moss is going to have a role on this team, and it'll happen later on. So,
see, I disagree a little bit with that, because I think Mitchell Wilcox is still going to be the special teams guy. And as long as Sample and Uzama are healthy, then I don't see Thaddeus Moss being
we're going to see. Well,
team.
like you said, if they're healthy,
he's terrible special teams, so he's no good there either.
Right.
So you
bring in the receiving threat, but he's in that inner circle, and it's so, like I said, it was just a shame to finally get to the active roster and then not even get to play in the Steeler game, where he would have.
It's not just a shame; it's embarrassing. That was embarrassing.
Well, stuff happens. So, and then I read that we're getting the Smith back. We're getting Deontay Smith back. So that's a good thing. And then I don't know what the status is on Reef and Hopkins. You had said you had heard something that Zach said at a presser on Reef, because neither one of them practiced this week.
Obviously, it's early in the week, so we haven't gotten a lot of practice reports. But if I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong, you guys can let me know in the comments. I believe when Zach did a presser, I think yesterday, he said, I think Reef will be just fine. And he's a veteran, so it wouldn't be a surprise at all just to kind of give him a day off, give him an extra day to recover. Right. And I certainly hope that's the case, because the offensive line is still a little fragile. It's played way better, I think, than a lot of us have expected it to. But losing Reef at right tackle would be pretty detrimental.
Right.
So hopefully he's just getting, some veteran time to recoup from, a minor injury, and that he'll be back in time.
Yeah. The people who didn't practice, before we get into the good and the bad, and we will do that. Chris Evans didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. Trey Hopkins didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. Like I said, Riley Reef did not practice Wednesday or Thursday. Auden Tate did not practice. Mike Thomas did not practice either day. And Khalid Kareem didn't practice, but his was due to illness. So we may have him. So, but that's basically the injury report. So yeah, we're hoping.
Can I just say in general, as much as I love the guy, like I love him, why has Auden Tate not been placed on the IR by now?
I don't know.
Even the short term IR, where he's only got to miss 3 games. He's missed, I think, 4 in a row, maybe 5 in a row.
Right. One of them was a healthy scratch.
This is so,
one of them was a healthy scratch.
That's correct. One. That's correct. Yeah. Yes, that's correct. But I mean, at this point, if you're not going to use him anyway, put him in the IR. Bring somebody up from the practice squad that might actually help the team, even if it's on special teams.
Right.
I love Auden Tate. I love him. I want to see him succeed. I think he's an unbelievable red zone threat.
Right.
But why he has not been placed on the IR yet is so Cincinnati. It's so us. We're like, yeah, no, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. And then like week 14, we're gonna be like, yeah, he's done. Like
Right. Well,
after he never actually comes back.
yeah. So we'll see what happens. All right, we're going to get into the things we don't feel good about, things we're feeling good about. Obviously, we're playing the Chargers this week. I'm going to pre-apologize right now for any of the times I say San Diego. Chances are you're going to get at least one or two of them. It's just how my brain goes. So
I probably will.
I know they're from Los Angeles. I was in their locker room when I did my SoFi Stadium tour. Those pictures are available on the LA Bengals fan
We've
Facebook
both
page.
seen games there. So
and I actually visited Witt's locker. So if you want to go to the LA Bengal fan Facebook page, those pictures are up. That's deep on my Twitter feed, but you can find them right away on the Facebook page. But yeah, it's so we'll go through the things that we're feeling good about, not feeling good about. I'll start with the things I'm not feeling good about. And the number one thing is our history with brain fart games. I mean, this is a game we should win. We're talking about a team that's among the bottom on run defense. We've just talked about how Mixon's been unbelievable. We ran all over Vegas. We ran all over the Steelers. Mixon needs to have at least 30 touches this game. But this is one of those things where we have this history. I can't get past the Jets' response after the Baltimore win. So that's one of the things I'm scared about. And then the other thing, and this kind of plays right into it, is our lack of focus in non-divisional games. We tend to come in very focused against Baltimore, and then, we have a non-divisional game we're supposed to win, and we don't win it. So that's my concern here, because this is a critical game for wild card tiebreaker, and to keep us rolling. We want to get into a position to where we are going to take the number place in the division. Should Baltimore win the next few, we win the next few. If we beat Baltimore, we're going to be, ahead atop of the North. And this is one of those games you got to keep the train, moving.
Yeah, and they're gonna play this up in the media. The Bengals and the Chargers are both gonna downplay it, but you've got two of the guys that went early as quarterbacks last season,
right?
And they're facing off. I think Herbert is like I don't know, 24 touchdowns to 12 or 24 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. Burrow is like 22 to 12. Herbert's 24 to 10. So the media is going to play this up. They haven't done it yet, but they're gonna, like, especially on Sunday.
Yeah.
It's impossible not to hear some of that noise. But these are two teams with these quarterbacks that can absolutely take advantage of a secondary. You know what I mean? And our secondary has been okay. You know what I mean? Safety has been good. Cornerbacks, Owuzie has been great. Everything else is kind of iffy. Chargers have the same issue. Chargers started out the season playing great defense, and that was their big focus in the offseason. And but lately, they're going loss, win.
They're very inconsistent, and they can't shut down the run. I don't know if they're 32nd but they're one of the bottom teams in terms of shutting down the run. So we should be able to run on that.
Agreed.
And they don't travel well. Their biggest brain farts have been on the road, including their brain fart last week in Denver. I mean, I lost money on that game. I thought they'd come in and steamroll Denver, and instead they got completely manhandled by a non-Von Miller Denver defense. So,
to be fair, Denver's been shocking people all season long.
Right.
I mean, well, not all season long, but they started out they are who we thought they were, that idea. And then now all of a sudden they're like, they decided to turn around and play well, like you said, even without Von Miller, which is baffling to me. But, once again, like we always talk about, the Chargers coming off a loss in division against Denver. and we're riding high off a win.
Right.
Man,
Keep
I
your
know
focus.
there are guys in the comments that rattle us every time for saying there's a trap game. They're like, we're the Bengals. We don't have trap games. I'm telling you, this is a trap game.
Well, it
This
is
is
if
totally a trap game.
one of the things that this team has to do is they have to learn that now that they're perceived as an up and coming good team, they're going to get everybody's best shot. So there's nobody coming in going, oh, we're just going to roll the Bengals. I mean, maybe the Steelers did last week. I don't know. They sure didn't look like they had that. But the Steelers of the past have come in and said, and I remember Ray Lewis doing his hypes before the game when they would come into our stadium going, same old Bengals, same old Bengals, and that's not the case. We're going to get everybody's best shot now. So
right.
They need to learn that one of the things you do by elevating yourself and making yourself one of those, elite teams is to win the games you're supposed to win. You don't look past anybody. You put this team away. You step on them early, much like we did with the Steelers. I would like to see that more often. And that's something that this team will do because you can change the culture, but you also need to learn how to win. And Zach's maturing. We've said this before. The team's maturing. Well, this is another step because if we lose this week, it's going to be the same. Oh, they're going to, there we go. The inconsistent Bengals, demolish the Steelers and then lose to the Chargers at home. But this is a game we should win.
But if we win, because of how tightly knit the AFC is right now, if we win, we're in the driver's seat for the wild card.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And got a shot at the division too. And Mark, I hope you don't mind, but I brought a broken record along with me. Okay. This is the fourth youngest team in the NFL.
Yes, it is. I've heard that.
I think this is
I've heard that before.
I think this is like the fifth or sixth week in a row that I've said that.
Hey, it's fact. So you have to.
And so games like this scare me. Coming off a win because I fear that we're gonna cough it up and be a little too full of ourselves, and people are moving us up in the power rankings, and we're gonna start listening to it, and we're gonna start believing it and everything. The only thing I will say, what I really like is being that young of a team. They're fearless. Well, almost to a fault. You know what I mean? Like Burrow's interceptions, Burrow's refusal to ever, throw the ball out of bounds, and being aggressive on play calls of late, not early in the season, but of late, could be a detriment. But at the same time, when you're that young and nobody expected you to do this well, right, being fearless is actually pretty good.
Well,
I picked this team to win 7 games before the season. We're there.
I had them at 9-8. So yeah, but
you know what I mean?
But now I'm looking at now I'm saying 9-8. I want 10 or 11 or 12 wins. I want to win the division.
Yeah, I just want to see us remain aggressive, like you said.
Right. Yeah.
I want to see us remain aggressive, keep the foot on the gas. If we lose a game because we were too aggressive, I'll deal with it. Right. I would way rather my team was aggressive than super, super, super passive.
Right. Well, certain games I think we lost because we weren't aggressive enough.
I agree.
We let too much of the game get away. So
100%. Jets and Bears in particular.
Yeah. So I need to let's transition into the good, and I can piggyback off what you just said. One of the things that's good about this team is that they're so young. They're not married to the losing culture. Most of these guys weren't on our team when we were struggling at the end of the Marvin Lewis era. So they don't have any recollection of that. They're looking around going, well, what do you mean? I mean, that doesn't affect them at all. That's why I don't think the Steelers, they were intimidated in either game this year with the Steelers. I mean, most of this team doesn't remember all the games that we lost to the Steelers.
Well, yeah.
They just remember winning the last 3.
That's and they get asked about it in every press conference. Well, how do you think you're going to change this culture? And they're like, what culture? I wasn't even here then. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, and then that also gets me to remember that the Joe Burrow's comments after the game, I absolutely loved. Number one, he talked about how he takes what's underneath now. That was something that he kind of had this epiphany on the bye week was I fell in love with the big play. Now I'm just going to take what the defense gives me. And he just kept, moving the chains. And that's one of the mindsets that I really like. But the thing that he said at the presser that I loved was they asked him, so you've beaten the Steelers both times this season and swept them. What does that mean to you? And he plainly just looks in the camera, not even a grin. He goes, it means we're 2-0 against the Steelers. He goes, we have bigger aspirations than beating the Steelers. And I loved that response because it showed me that he knows what the job is at hand. This wasn't about just beating a division rival. I mean, they were just one of the speed bumps on the way to our Super Bowl or our division title. That's where his mind is. And I love that.
Yeah. TMQB, right? That's my quarterback.
That's my quarterback, baby.
You've got to feel really, really good about what Joe Burrow said in all of his pressers. Every single one of them, he sounds, I mean, I don't like making comparisons to other players, but he sounds like Peyton Manning.
Yeah. Well, I've said it from the beginning that I think he sounds like Peyton Manning.
He sounds brilliant. He sounds like he knows football, both sides of it. And to go back to what you were saying, about taking the underneath routes and maybe not hitting the big play, Jamar Chase is getting double teamed now. Teams are trying to take him away, even if it's not two cornerbacks. They'll run a cornerback out there and then they'll bring the safety over the top every time to protect against it.
Right.
And so his stats are going to continue to tread water. If you look at his stats right now, I mean, he's on pace for like 1,700 yards and 16 touchdowns. That's absurd. He's not going to hit that.
No.
Because everybody is trying to take it away. But what did you see last week? T. Higgins, bam.
Yeah.
Tyler Boyd got way more usage than he has lately, which is what we need. Hit those short ones. Hit the ones on the sideline to T, and make teams pay for trying to double your number one receiver.
Take what they're giving you. Don't fall in love.
And let's not forget that Burrow he's only played 20 games so far,
right?
You know what I mean? Because he missed half the season last year. Everybody says, "Well, he's second-year quarterback." I'm like, but he's not really. Right. He's like a 1+4 games year, quarterback.
But he's Joe Cool. So
but what I'm saying is he's still learning.
Oh yeah, no.
So we have to allow that and be happy with it. And you can see it both in the pressers and both how he's using his receivers and also how Zach is using the running game.
Yeah. Well, this whole team is maturing. This reminds me a lot of the Cowboys of the 90s, because you had Jimmy Johnson transitioning from the college game, maturing as he was going. And he has Aikman and he has Emmitt Smith and he has Michael Irvin. And they're just, the whole team was growing together, and we have that core. We have that similar core to where this team can be good for a long time. And I know that people don't want to, the other teams in the AFC North don't want to accept that, but this team could be good for the next, decade or longer.
Absolutely.
Or we have together.
It's funny you mentioned the Cowboys, because I think Aikman, I think he started 8-24.
Yeah. No, it was a bad start.
I think that was his win-loss record. I mean, you guys could correct me, but I'm pretty sure that was close to his win-loss record. He started 8-24, something along those lines. But yeah, I agree. I mean, there has to be patience. I mean, like I said earlier, in my opinion, we've won 7 games. I'm already ecstatic. I'm already like, we're on our way.
Yeah, well, I know we're on our way, and I posted that we've arrived. I mean, we made a statement to the league that we've arrived with the last 2 weeks. But now I want a wild card berth at a minimum.
Yeah, you're hitting greedy.
And I want a division title, not just because I have $60 to win 1,200, but because I have the AFC North. So hey, 20-1. Everybody laughed at me. Oh, you could just give me the $60. I'm like, you laughing now? I asked them if they wanted to cover it. They said no. So I placed it. So But no, I'm getting greedy now. So and then the other two things I have feeling good about. We talked about one, the Chargers are horrible against the run. The other thing I have is this is back-to-back road games for the Chargers, who don't play well on the road. So this is a game, even though they lost in Denver, this is still their second road game. I mean, we should be able to we should be able to take advantage of that. So like I said, everything points to us winning this game. So we just got to go out there and do it. You still got to execute, because if you don't, the Jets showed us, and maybe the Jet game might help us in the long run, because they will learn that they're not going to, you cannot overlook anybody. There you were, 11,
especially not as fourth quarter, especially not how old we are.
Right. Because they're the fourth youngest team in the league, I've heard. Somebody told me that. Where did I get that?
I've never heard that.
So, but all right. Well, I've covered everything I have. So let's get.
Tell
me what you've got.
I've got two things to throw in there. I like I really like the way the offensive line played last week.
Yes.
It was really, really thrilling that Mixon had 159 yards,
something like that, 164, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
190 something as a team, but that was we basically ran at will on them. There was Steve. All I've listened to all week on NFL radio is Steeler fans crying about how embarrassed they were about how easily we just ran through them. And my biggest complaint about that was the Pat Kerwin and all the different shows. They spent more time talking about what's wrong with the Steelers instead of spending time talking about what's right with Cincinnati. What's right with Cincinnati? Hey, how about saying, hey, you know what? They ran into one of the up and coming great teams, but the whole talk has been what's wrong with Pittsburgh? What's wrong with Pittsburgh? I'm like, all right, you guys can sit there. We'll just continue to fly under, all right, just keep dismissing us, because I think that the Bengal players see that and say, okay, all right.
Yeah, I think we prefer to have the chip on our shoulder. Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because I said it to, I can't even tell you how many people I said it to. Everything you watched on TV was not about the Bengals winning. It was about the Steelers losing.
Yeah.
And
what's wrong with Pittsburgh? What's wrong with Pittsburgh? Yeah. You know what's wrong with Pittsburgh? They ran into us. That's what's wrong with Pittsburgh.
The weakest part of our team is supposed to be the offensive line. At one point in that game, Joe Mixon was averaging over 7 yards a carry. He ended with 5.9 yards per carry. Right. That's absurd. Burrow had time to throw. I mean, we were just scoring at will. That is not because the Steelers suck, because, by the way, I think they're going to beat the Ravens this week. That is not.
I do too, because they're pissed, and I'm happy with that. That would be awesome.
I don't think it's because the Steelers suck. I think it's because the Bengals they're actually good.
Yes.
So, get off it and just stop being like, oh, well, yeah, the Steelers, they're falling apart. But, Ben might as well retire. Well, that may be true.
Well, it is true, but yeah.
But give the Orange and Black some credit. We never get any credit for that kind of thing.
We'll just keep chugging along and make our statements on the field, which is what we need them to do. So, all right, do you have anything else? Are you ready for your prediction?
I got one more thing, and I'll do it quick, because I know we're getting down to the wire here. I love the way the offensive line, as long as I was talking about them, neutralized TJ Watt. They made him so frustrated. He was angry. He was mad. I think he got a personal foul out of the deal.
No, you know what? They didn't throw a flag. They should have. During Burrow's interception, he grabs Burrow and he shakes him around like a rag doll. The ref's standing right there, and then he picks him up and plants him on the ground. And I'm like, where's the flag? Now, Burrow played it off like, okay, it was no big deal. He was just blocking. But personally, if that was Tom Brady, every single flag would have been on the field. You would have seen 6 flags surrounding him.
Of course.
It's just, we didn't.
6 flags? Like a roller coaster?
Well, we had Vinovich coach reffing that game, and I talked about in the recap that we're 0-5 against the Steelers. Now we're 1-5. But and there was nothing he could do. It almost seemed that OPI and stuff. I don't like that referee at all. So
I mean, listen. I try to not complain about the refs that much, because I know that they can't see everything, but there's still 5 or 6 of them out there. Somebody has got to be watching.
The ref was standing right
there. The quarterback on a turnover, for crying out loud.
The ref was standing right there. there. He's got Burrow. TJ Watt has Burrow by both things here. He's shaking him around. He's got him off the ground, shaking him around like a rag doll, and then just basically plants him in the turf. And Jonah Williams comes over and took exception. The whole offensive line comes over and no flag. It's like, okay, so TJ Watt's more important to you guys than Burrow. Okay, I get it.
Well,
it's so I don't expect, like I said, I don't expect much. He's one of the referees where you watch him ref and you think, oh my gosh, he's got money on the game. That's what you think when you watch him ref. You go, the flags are just so disproportionate. But this was a game where it was out of his hands. When Mike Hilton intercepted it and ran it in, it was out of his hands. There's nothing he could do at 31.
Nothing you could do about it.
Yeah, but you actually get the feeling. This is where you start thinking, oh my gosh, what did this guy bet the Steeler money line? I mean, that's what you're thinking when you're watching. So, and that's not how it's supposed to be.
The only other thing I wanted to say is I think it's long overdue that we really, really come out and say Trey Hendrickson is arguably the best free agent signing the Bengals have had in years.
Yes.
The dude is a machine. He leads the NFL, or at least was tied for the lead in the NFL in overall pressures. He's tied for first in the NFL in pressures that led to a turnover. He's invaluable. And I want to put on top of that, Billy Price for BJ Hill was highway robbery.
Yes,
it was highway robbery.
It was
highway robbery. I don't know why they couldn't figure out how to use BJ Hill, but I mean, at this point, he's more valuable to us than like DJ Reader in the middle. You know what I mean? He's playing
very good.
So
they are
well.
collectively as a whole, as our defensive line as a whole. And I love Hendrickson. I loved how excited he was to come to us. And we were his preferred destination. People don't realize that his wife is going to school in the area. And that was why this was his preferred destination to come here. So we've got him, I think, on a 2-year deal. I wouldn't be surprised if we extend him down the road. But yeah, I agree with you. We have the last 2 years outside of Trey Wayans, we have really spent our free agency money extremely well. Mike Hilton was another one that was a huge ad.
Of course.
In terms of bringing
the less you hear a quarterback's name, the better. How often do you hear somebody say Mike Hilton unless he's actually slapping the ball out or making an interception like he did on Sunday?
Or walking
and
in the
running
end
it back for a touchdown. If you don't hear his name as a quarterback, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, sit there and you can look around at Steeler fans. They can look and say, well, that's all the times you rework Ben Roethlisberger's contract. That's the cap hits. He's still a huge cap hit, and he will be for a year or two after he's gone. But Mike Hilton was a cap casualty, and I know how gratifying that in pick 6 before half must have been for him. That was just a thing of beauty.
All right, Mark, we're talking our butts off. Let's get to predictions. You want to go first?
So go for it. Yours is in writing, so I'm going to let you because
mine is in writing, and I will put it in the comments. And you guys are not going to like this, which is probably better than I'm going first, and I'll let Mark go next. I feel like the youth of this team is going to cost us in this game. However, it does feel like Cincinnati always has a thriller on their hands. This week is no exception. I don't think it's ruining our season or anything like that, but I did take the Chargers 33-30. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I think both teams can score on the opposing cornerbacks, the opposing secondary. But I just feel like in the end, they're going to come in here and I hate to say it, but I honestly think it's going to be a costly mistake from Joe Burrow in the fourth quarter that screws us over. And, you guys know I love Joe Burrow, but that's how I see it. So Mark, let's give him some good news.
Oh yeah. Dude, my prediction couldn't be, it's the polar opposite of yours. Okay.
Good.
Because I watched my money disappear from me in the Charger game because I had already won on my cards, the morning games. I had the Bengals and I sit there and I watch the Chargers screw me at Mile High Stadium. And if you pressure Herbert, he if you think Burrow does some stupid things, Herbert does some ridiculously stupid things under pressure. And I think we wreak some havoc on him. This is not at SoFi Stadium. This is in the jungle. This team does not travel well, especially going back east. I see our defense really wreaking some havoc on him. No. I've got it. We're going to give up some points.
Yeah, but this team has never had a home field advantage anyway. So,
but the Chargers have not been a good team on the road. I mean, look at it. They had the Steelers down and they played the Steelers back into that game. When we were in Vegas that night, I could not believe that we were in, I think, didn't that game go to overtime? I could not believe that they let the Steelers back into that game. They did that to themselves. The Steelers did not. Ben was given a short field and a blocked punt and some blunders. I see this game 31-17 Cincinnati. So that's simple. And I think we cause problems for Herbert. I think this team shows, because they know that this is where I think the Jet game may actually help us. They are not going to look past this game. This is the game they're going to win. So
are you betting the under on this game?
No. I'm going to bet the over, and I have the Bengals money line
17.
So yeah, but the over under is 50. The over under is 50.
Right. Well, you just quoted 48 points.
Right. Well, I'm telling you what my score is. I understand, but I probably I'll probably tease the over is what I'll do. To tease.
They beat Pittsburgh 41-37. You saw how Pittsburgh's offense looked against us.
So, you know what? And like I said, I probably will tease it, but I'm going to be all over Cincinnati on this game. There's no way I'm taking. If I truly believed your score, I would be teasing San Diego, because San Diego, there we go. I got one in. Yeah, I was so good at not doing it. But I do think that we win this game, and I think we cause problems for Herbert. I really do.
Well,
I do think both the Chargers and the Bengals have their quarterbacks for the next decade. This is going to be one of those things where we're going back and forth,
sure,
playing each other. I think this is, Kyler Murray, I throw in that group. I mean, there's that core quarterbacks that we're going to see battling with each other. And these are two of them. So,
well, as always, I mean, of course, I desperately hope that my prediction is incorrect.
Yeah.
I clearly would be way more happy with your score than mine.
Yep.
I don't want to be right on the score. I want the orange and black to win.
Yes.
So,
I believe it's this week. I think our trouble, and we'll get into this on the preview, provided we win this game. But I think San Francisco is going to be more of a challenge than we anticipated. I really kind of had that one checked off as a win for us, and I think they're going to come in, and part of that has to do with the coach and stuff. But we'll get into all that on the preview.
Absolutely.
Next week. So, all right. Well, once again, Sam, tell them where they can find all your stuff.
Absolutely. You can find me at Buy and Sell You on Twitter. I write for Primetime Sports Talk, which is at Talk Primetime, or primetimesportstalk.com.
All right.
Do not forget to subscribe to this channel. Turn on those notifications. Put some comments down below. We want to hear what your score prediction is, and I want to hear some who days. So drop them in there.
All right, there you go. And with that, I'm going to say who day, everybody. We'll be back with a recap right after the game. Take care.
Who day?